Hi, my name is Alan Gukin. I'm a high school band director here in Austin, and my topic was about utilizing tablature for teaching guitar at the high school level. Now, I surveyed literature pertaining to the use of tab in the educational setting because this is a topic that's very near and dear to me. I teach a rock and blues band here at the high school where we feature three guitar players on electric guitar as well as a bass player and drums. So this is a very pertinent topic for me because I use it every day, and the tools that I'm going to be discussing in just a moment are things that I do very regularly, so I'm very quite familiar with the process that's involved. Now, using tablature has been met with lots of different reviews. Some people love it, some people hate it. Typically, the more academic and classically oriented crowd is very or has been very anti-tab, and versus a lot of the self-taught players and rock guys and garage band type mentality people are very much for it because it has some significant advantages. Now, the initial question I guess most people would ask is, what exactly is tab? Well, a tab is simply put a notation used for guitar players where you, the modern version at least, incorporates a little grid, a six-string grid, where you put numbers to tell to tell the guitar player to put fingerings on particular frets at a particular order so that we can get the sounds that we want. And there's also the version that also incorporates chord grids as well, so that you can basically know exactly what hand positions to place to make certain chords happen on a guitar. The same thing exists for bass as well as guitar, so it's a similar system, only using 4 strings instead of 6, but nevertheless it's the same concept. Now, as far as the pros and cons, the academic world has been very mixed on this up until recently. They typically describe it as formal versus informal. Formal being more of the standard Western style notation versus informal, the people who haven't really had a whole lot of training. The anti-tablature crowd, if you will, usually their biggest arguments are the fact that tablature doesn't typically use rhythmic notation, nor does it require a basic understanding of music theory and pertaining to the guitar itself in order to become proficient at playing a particular song. And you don't really develop a concept of string relations from one string to the next and how they interact. Now, most of the guitar tab folks can typically argue the exact opposite and say that the tab basically bypasses the need to understand symbols in Western notation, so they can just jump straight to the music process and start playing the music that they know and they love and that they want to recreate. So it expedites the process, makes it faster, and they can get right to the act of making music. The biggest challenge that I had facing this project was the fact that there's just not a whole heck of a lot of information out there. The academic world in regards to tablature usually pertains to lute tablature from a couple hundred years ago, and most of the guitar tablature that you find out there now is rock guitar stuff that you see in books and it's offered for sale. So, but there has been a few people here and there that have started springing up. There's been some dissertations written regarding the use of tablature in the classroom, both at the middle school and the high school level. So it's becoming a little bit more of a concept that people are revisiting over time, and I would assume that the farther in we get, the more that you're going to see topics like this pop up because more people are taking interest in it. One of the things that I learned that was I hadn't really thought a whole lot about when I started this topic was the issue of copyright infringement and derivative works, because it really didn't. It never really crossed my mind, to be honest. But the more I got into it, the more I found article after article involving tablature issues with record labels, mostly filing lawsuits against tab sharing websites. There's tons of them out there on the internet that offer free, basically charts that they've written and submitted that people can download and they can look at online and learn how to play these pieces of music. the good thing is that there's also, for all those lawsuits, there's also been argument against it. In particular, there was a Jason Simon. At the time, he was a candidate for his JD. He's now an attorney in Arizona, but he wrote an article for the Arizona Law Review that argued tab as a valid tool to use to teach art. So in essence, it's just another tool to throw in our bag of tricks, and it's very valid in the academic setting to get students to learn how to play their instruments better and faster. He's not the only one, but there were a few others that argued the same. Now, one of the things that I definitely learned that was interesting was that tablature has very, very deep roots. They actually found recently, in fact, a piece of tablature that was written by, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, but I think it's Sebastian Verdung, from 1511, showing tablature very similar to what we see now, that also included stems for rhythmic notation. Tablature actually was written out for lots of different instruments, but it kind of fell out of favor when notation became a lot more popular and standardized. And guitar, honestly, the instrument itself never really became a standardized construction until late 1800s. But up until then, even up into the 19th and 20th century, there were still people playing on all kind of weird combinations of guitars with 7 and 10 strings and you name it. So it was a little trickier to completely shake the tab mindset. And of course, when the electric guitar came out and everybody wanted to play it, obviously it stemmed a lot more interest, and the websites that popped up when the internet came around gave people lots and lots of access to literature that was available to them. Now, as far as the other aspect of what I learned that I originally thought that I was one of the few people out there who actually took an interest in this thing and actually saw value in some of the music that I was teaching my students, because it wasn't jazz, it wasn't classical or wind ensemble type music or anything along those lines, or orchestral scores. So a lot of people kind of look down their noses at it, but I found that I'm not alone. There's an awful lot more teachers who are teaching guitar using tablature and standardized notation. There's software that helps students to be able to bridge the gap between. There's software called Guitar Pro 6, which I learned about, that actually you can basically meet the guitarist where they're at with their knowledge of reading ability, whether they're a tab player and they want to take an interest in learning how to read standard Western notation, or vice versa. They actually play the snippets simultaneously so that you can see one on top of the other and be able to look at the one that you know best and be able to make the correlations between, if I put my finger here, this is the actual name of the pitch that comes out, and this is what it looks like on a staff. So software like that is becoming more and more common. Guitar Pro 6 is just one of them that I found. One of the other great things is that the later versions of notation software like Sibelius and Finale have started to incorporate some really nice versions of tablature that you can put in and arrange music. Even if you're not familiar of how to write tablature or how to read it, even you can write out a piece of music for a trombone and transpose it by simply copying and pasting onto another staff for tab for guitar, and it automatically places it in the appropriate hand position. There are websites and lots of projects that have been done in dissertations showing how to create the best tablature, or even ranking the best tablature that they find that's already been created and posted on the internet. So it opened my eyes to a lot more studious approach to the tablature that I didn't realize was happening when I first took on this topic. So it made me feel a lot more secure in the fact that I'm on the right track, at least with encouraging my kids to use this as a valid way to expand their musicianship and to speed up the process by getting them playing and performing pretty complex and literature probably well before they would normally have done that in a traditional setting. The current state of the scholarship right now, it's varied, but you're starting to see more and more. There's the Central London Youth Project music workshop is a project that that utilizes tablature and standard notation in London to kids who want to play, and it's working really well. It's a very successful program. And there's a gentleman named Brandon Wood who's a percussionist, and he was arguing mostly for percussion, but it actually is very applicable to guitarists as well, because they share the same issues as far as a hesitation of learning to read and trying to find other ways of getting around it, and a lot of playing by ear. But he expressed a need for a shift in the philosophy in music pedagogy to eliminate the perceived sense of elitism. It's reinforced, among other things, by a language barrier of learning to read music. Some of the areas that are definitely in need of further study would be, if professionals are using tablature, and if so, how, to what extent. I would love to survey a larger chunk of professional guitar players outside of my realm of personal friends and contacts to see what exactly they're doing, and what some people are doing in different areas of the country that might use tab to help get the process moving a little bit faster. The other thing that I would definitely say is something that needs to be pursued in terms of further research is getting a way to teach future educators what tablature is, and not to be afraid of it, and not to be hesitant in using it as another way of getting their students to perform music. Douglas Thompson wrote a dissertation, or no, called "Speaking Their Language." It was geared toward middle school students, but plainly put, saying that the kids are already doing it. They're already using tablature on their own. They're already looking up their own stuff, and they're already learning to play it. So might as well take what they're already doing and use it to your advantage to incorporate it into your lessons, so that you can bridge that gap and make them more prone to buying into what you're doing with your class, and showing that you also respect that they're finding ways of making music on their own as well, and cultivating that. But other than that, apparently tablature is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's in just about every songbook that you see, and it's time that we start incorporating it and making it more of a part of daily curriculum. It would definitely go a long way in rethinking guitar pedagogy for a more proficient 21st century music industry professional. Thank you.